So folks, today's a tough one. I'm going to talk about a subject that unfortunately I know all too well. So let me tell you a story. Back in my nursing days, we had a colleague and her behaviour started to change. And we all noticed little changes, little subtle changes. And one day I went in for the Christmas shift about a week after she'd asked me to go to lunch with her on our break, and I knew something was off, but I just couldn't really put my finger on it. Now I was in my early 20s there. Seems like an eternity ago now. But a week later we got a letter on the ward to the ward manager of this woman that she said, by the time you get this, I'll be dead. And sure enough, the ward manager sent the police to her house and she was dead. And we went through a process of beating ourselves up, of saying what could we have done differently? What could we have done differently? And it was excruciating. And if you've ever lost anyone, you've probably been through that same process. So here I am 30 years later, and it's happened a few times. And there's two types of suicidal. There's one where people feel suicidal and it's a call for help. That's when people do things like superficial cuts of their wrists, or they take a drug overdose where they may or may not have irreversible damage. But I used to look after a lot of these in hospital, and I used to find with 100% accuracy, everyone changed their mind. Once the family came in, once the friends came in, once people had found out what they'd done, everyone changes their mind. And as a PS, the worst drug to overdose on is paracetamol. It's awful. It's an awful drug, folks. Just as a PS, just in case you've been thinking about it, because it takes 3 days to rot your liver. And everyone that takes it changes their mind. So, well, in my experience, and I've looked after about at least 50 people that have taken a paracetamol overdose and seen them through the aftermath. Some live, some die, and that's just the unfortunate fact of it. But I go off track. The point being that you'll notice when your friends are off. You can feel it. There's an instinct, there's something that's off. And I've got good at noticing that now and asking questions and really probing with people I know well and asking them a lot of questions, and sometimes bringing stuff up that they hadn't talked about and sometimes not. And have I saved any lives? I genuinely don't know. I can tell you that it's quite possible. I certainly saved lives in my nursing role. But the point being, if you have been through this, if you've got a friend that has killed themselves, never go too hard on yourself, because people that are genuinely suicidal, they're going to do it anyway. That's one thing I've learned in life. And the reason I record this video is because a very good friend of mine phoned me up today, absolutely beating himself up because one of his friends has just committed suicide, and it's one of the hardest things in life to navigate. So I know we're a little bit left field now, folks, and I know this isn't exactly my public speaking or pitching skills that I'm selling today, but what I can tell you, for those that know me, is my background is in mental health. I've written 2 books on mental health, and I've worked 13 years on the front line of the health service as a nurse, dealing with people that were suicidal and had drug overdoses. So I'm not just telling you this as somebody that's had 1 or 2 people affected in my life. I have been that frontline healthcare worker, and I have had friends that have committed suicide. So if that's you, folks, this is one of the things that people don't talk about enough. And more importantly, if you've been affected by it, if you've lost friends through it, it is absolutely pointless to beat yourself up, because the odds are that unless you have advanced people skills and counselling skills and awareness skills, then you probably couldn't have done anything about it. So there you go, folks. A little bit of a long one today, but it's a very serious topic, and it's almost definitely going to affect you in your life if it hasn't already.